Thank you all for coming. It's my great pleasure to introduce Bethany Otremba. As many of you know, Beth is my sister. However, Beth is also a talented teacher and historian. Beth holds a master's degree in history from the University of Iowa, and she is currently pursuing a PhD in history from that same school. Beth's academic work has focused on issues relating to eugenics and sterilization in post-World War II Iowa. These are difficult and timely topics, and they are topics that are aligned with themes and concepts that we are currently discussing in my Literature of American Minorities class. It is partly on account of this that I asked Beth to speak tonight. In a poem that June Jordan, an African-American poet, wrote, entitled Poem About My Rights, she said the following words: "Even tonight, and I need to take a walk and clear my head about this poem, about why I can't go out without changing my clothes, my shoes, my body posture, my gender identity, my age, my status, as a woman alone in the evening, alone on the streets, alone not being the point being that I can't do what I want to do with my own body because I am the wrong sex, the wrong age, the wrong skin." Here, Jordan gives voice to an issue that is deeply rooted in American society. Namely, there has been an ongoing struggle for equality and rights for many individuals on account of race, gender, age, and social status. While we have certainly made progress over the years, it is safe to say we have a long way to go until we sufficiently overcome this struggle. And if we are to continue to make progress toward greater equality for all people, we cannot forget about the past. Yes, the past allows us to learn from our mistakes, but studying the past also allows us to see patterns, the way history can repeat itself. Some of the issues we currently face, and will face with even greater urgency in the future, surround welfare, immigration, and overpopulation. Yet, history tells us we have repeatedly confronted these issues. Previous solutions have explored eugenics, or improving the quality of the human race, and forced sterilization. No doubt these solutions will surface again, and in some ways they are surfacing now, or more likely, they never went away. We can see then why Beth's work is so important, especially in the context of the struggle for equality and the protection of basic rights for all people living in America. I look forward to hearing what Beth has to say on these matters, and I hope all of us can have a lively conversation after Beth begins with some opening remarks. So this is how the evening will work. Beth will present for about 15-20 minutes, and then we're going to watch 2 short video clips, and then we're going to open up the floor to questions. We're going to start with your questions. I have some on reserve, but I'd like to hear your voice, and then I may even ask questions of you. But so that's how it's going to go. So please help me in welcoming my sister, Bethany Otremba.
Thank you for welcoming me here tonight for Matt's class, and to everyone that decided to come out here. I understand that Matt's class focuses on finding voice, especially as it pertains to minority groups. And I was thrilled when he asked me to come tonight and discuss the topic of eugenics, and how one actually finds voice of the many individuals whose voice was suppressed and their rights violated by eugenic sterilization legislation and medical intervention. Eugenics is a very complicated and very fascinating subject, and it presents scholars and society in general with some very difficult and uncomfortable questions, such as who has the right to procreate? Is parenthood a privilege, or is it a universal right? When does the state, by way of legal, medical, or social welfare intervention, have the right to sterilize or control an individual's reproduction? I understand that Matt assigned, at least for his particular class, an assortment of readings regarding eugenic sterilization and its relationship to the different minority populations. But before we get into a sort of a broader discussion, I would first like to talk for the next 15 to 20 minutes about the history of eugenics. Why, mainly as it pertains to the American eugenics movement, and why and how eugenic sterilization came to be seen as a viable solution to solving or eradicating the social ills that society faced, and how this particularly affected those who were mentally disabled, as this is a very significant part of eugenics history. And so I sort of situate sort of mental disability within that sort of minority context. I will be using terms such as feeble-minded and mentally deficient. These are not politically correct terms today, but they were the terms of choice used in the time that I'm dealing with. So just bear that in mind as we begin. In 1883, English scientist Sir Francis Galton coined the term eugenics, which is Latin for well-born. Galton's eugenic theory purported that a species or race could be bettered by manipulating heredity through the promotion of marriages and procreation amongst superior individuals, while segregating, restricting marriage, and later sterilizing those deemed inferior. Influenced by agricultural developments that manipulated the biological makeup of plant and animal species to breed desirable characteristics in their offspring, Galton envisioned an improved race of man through better breeding. His ideas quickly took root in the various scientific communities and social reform movements both in Britain and abroad. Galton's vision of genetically engineering a better human race gained widespread support and appeal during the American progressive reform movements of the early 20th century. These included the health reform crusades, such as prohibition, sexual purity, birth control, anti-prostitution, and many factors sustained support for eugenic ideology in America, including the social and economic effects from the Industrial Revolution and urbanization. The nation witnessed a soaring increase in the working class population and a decline in the birth rates of white middle class, as well as an increased visibility of poverty and the feeble-mindedness. Furthermore, a persistent fear of racial impurity lingered in the minds of many white Americans. During the first half of the 20th century, such fears resonated in white middle-class concerns about feeble-mindedness, which led reformers to promote the implementation of eugenic marriage, immigration, and compulsory sterilization laws. Using eugenic justification, states enacted these sterilization laws. In 1907, Indiana became the first state to adopt a sterilization law, making any individual who was feeble-minded a prisoner or impoverished a potential candidate for sterilization.